Chapter 3 REBT and the ABCs of Anger. Your understanding and using of the ABCs of REBT can give you a more satisfactory approach to the problem of dealing with your anger than you probably ever thought possible. It is not a magical formula, though. REBT seeks solutions to your problems and deals with them realistically, not magically. How did REBT get started? What makes it different from other forms of psychotherapy? IAE created the principles of REBT from my own clinical research and experience. Later, these principles were backed up by hundreds of experimental studies. During my career as a therapist, I have used many different techniques in treating my clients. Years of intense clinical experience and research convinced me that most of the popular therapies, especially classical psychoanalysis, which I practiced for several years, are inefficient and too expensive and time consuming for both clients and therapists. So in 1953, I began looking for better procedures. I drew many of the principles of REBT from the wisdom of philosophy as well as psychology. Since my youth, I have made the study of philosophy a main hobby, and by incorporating some of its principles into therapy, I discovered that my clients could achieve better results in far less time than when I used non philosophic approaches. So, in January 1955, I originated REBT and have helped train thousands of therapists in it since that time. Following my lead in the 1960s and 1970s, Aaron Beck, David Burns, William Glacier, Maxie Maltzby Jr., Donald Mickenbaum, and other outstanding therapists started to do cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT, which closely resembles REBT in many respects. CBT is a general form of therapy that was patterned after REBT and uses many of REBT's theories and practices. However, it doesn't emphasize people's absolutistic shoulds and musts as much as REBT does and is less emotive and experiential than REBT. This book will show you how to specifically use REBT, but also how to apply CBT to your anger and other emotional problems. Because the authors of this book are practicing therapists, we naturally advise you to see a competent REBT or CBT practitioner when you have a serious emotional problem. But we have found that by using REBT, you can also therapize yourself. In this book, we will explain how you largely create your own anger philosophically by resorting to absolutistic, command oriented thinking. Therefore, if you understand how to observe and control your own thoughts, you will empower yourself to reduce your destructive anger. REBT includes self teaching methods to help you deal with your rage, even under unusually trying circumstances. Even when you are unjustly abused and cheated, yes, even then. To show you how to healthily control your intense feelings of anger, rage, and vindictiveness, let us turn to an example. Imagine that Jack and Joan have promised to share an apartment with you as roommates and to share the rent provide you fix up provided you fix up and furnish the place. this seems agreeable to you, you go to a good deal of trouble and personal expense to keep your part of the bargain. At the last minute, they inform you that they have made other plans and cannot keep their part of the agreement. You feel extremely angry with them. Not only have you gone to considerable expense, but you must, at the last minute, look for someone else to share the apartment with you. How can you effectively deal with your anger? You may at first keep your feelings to yourself, but because you still have them, you your underlying resentment greatly interferes with your friendship with Joan and Jack. So you resolve nothing, and your rage interferes with your other activities. This solution won't work. You may decide to confront Jack and Joan with your feelings to freely express them. Look here, you say, I won't have you treating me like this. After all, you did say you'd share the apartment with me after I had fixed it up and furnished it. I never would have done that had you not agreed to share it with me in the first place. You've clearly done me wrong and acted really rotten. How could you have done a thing like that to a friend? I've never done anything so nasty to you, and I really don't see how you can expect anyone's friendship if you don't treat people or if you treat people so terribly. By openly voicing your anger, you may be rightly showing Joan and Jack how wrong they are, but you are still criticizing both their behavior, the deed, and them, the doers. By doing so, you will often push them into being defensive and denying and encouraging them to lash back angrily at you. Don't forget that Jack and Joan, like most of the human race, probably have some strong self blaming tendencies. Therefore, when you point out their errors, they tend to feel worse than you intended them to feel. As a result of your critical remarks, no matter how well or creatively you put them, your friends may make themselves feel terribly guilty and will frequently attempt to make you feel guilty too. So, honestly expressing your anger may harm both you and them. Another alternative, that of Christian forgiveness, involves you turning the other cheek. But in our often exploitative and hostile world, this can be impractical. People will feel less intimidated by you, but perhaps all the more tempted to take advantage of your passivity and good nature. You may indeed behave beautifully, but that hardly means that others will respect you and treat you as well as you treat them. In viewing the above alternatives for dealing with anger, you can see that although each may sometimes work, applying it across the board has real drawbacks. So let us look for solutions that will allow you to deal with difficult situations and get what you want without being dishonest or encouraging return hostility and defensiveness in others or setting yourself up for further mistreatment. We think we can safely say that no perfect method exists for dealing with destructive anger or disruptive anger. But let us present some procedures commonly used in REBT and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, that have now been successful for more than 4 decades in helping people deal with their rage. If you take the trouble to think seriously about the experiment with REBT and CBT practices, which we are about to describe, And if you practice them over a period of time, we believe that you too will learn to effectively handle your anger, as we have already helped so many of our clients do. How? By using REBT methods. Can you deal with your anger? Let us examine the ABCs of REBT. We begin by locating C, the emotional or behavioral consequence, your anger. Next, we look for A, the activating experience or adversity. Joan and Jack failed to uphold their part of an important agreement with you. As we look at the A and C, it may appear that A causes C. REBT theory assumes, however, that although your activating experience directly contributes to your emotional consequence, anger, it does not really cause it. For if you look closely at the relationship between A and C, as we will do throughout this book, you will indeed find that your friends withdrawing from your agreement inconveniences and disappoints you greatly because they are preventing you from getting what you wanted. But their withdrawal alone does not necessarily lead to your feeling angry with them. Hardly. For if your anger, C, directly results from A, then we have to assume that whenever you encounter any one particular A, you always feel the same emotion at C. In fact, however, you don't. For instance, we know that water boils at one temperature and freezes at another. And this is true for all situations involving water and temperature. Yet, when people in situations interact, such physical laws do not hold true. We often feel surprised by a person's reaction to a given situation. For instance, we hear of crime victims who, instead of cooperating with the authorities to bring the criminal to justice, do the opposite. Oddly enough, they actually help their assailant avoid prosecution. If we examine 100 people, all victims of the same crime, we will find many different responses. Some will act forgivingly, others will press for the harshest penalty available, and yet others will respond between these two extremes. An emotional consequence, although affected by an activating experience, does not directly result from it. Obviously, then, we have some degree of choice and control over our responses to various situations. The more aware we are of our possible responses to injustices, the more likely we are to consider reacting without rage. We are able to create beliefs, B's, between our A and C. Our B's about A largely determine our response to it. The more we make ourselves aware of our beliefs at A, the better chance we have of making choices that help us achieve our goals. Through choosing to think about adversities, A's, we stop acting too impulsively or foolishly at C. Fortunately, we rarely reflect on our Unfortunately, we rarely reflect on our thinking. Therefore, we seldom change the influence our thoughts have upon our actions and reactions. You, like every other person, have developed a belief system, B, that you rely upon to make judgments and evaluate people and events. Although you have your own personal belief or value system, You also hold many beliefs similar to others in your given family and culture. In some important ways, the belief systems of different cultures significantly differ and over time also change within a given culture. You, as an individual, may hold a number of different belief systems at once. You sometimes radically change your feelings and opinions in order to remain happy and productive in an ever changing world. Your individual beliefs are not entirely your own. Much of what you view as good or bad, right or wrong, you have imbibed from your elders and from your social group. Although your belief system strongly influences your reactions at C, B is not the only factor in determining C. A also considerably influences your reactions at C. Your reactions. C then equals A times B. You often cannot affect any major influence over A, although you can determinedly try. Fortunately, you can usually change B, as we shall see. None of your experiences has any set value in and of itself. You give them value. That is your nature, to value and to rate your experiences. What you desire and prefer you call good, and what you dislike you call bad. Once you rate or evaluate experiences, A's, create beliefs about them, your B's determine your feelings and behaviors that accompany the A's. By starting with C, consequences, you learn that your feeling of anger or any other self defeating feeling follows a negative experience at A. You can also see that your belief system strongly influences your feelings at C. At this point, REBT helps you discover exactly what beliefs contribute to your unhealthy negative feelings of anger and shows you how you can alter any of your beliefs by examining their irrationality. It shows you how self helping or rational beliefs, RBs, often make you healthily sorry and disappointed instead of enraged. C. How self defeating or irrational beliefs, IBs, tend to make you angry. C. About adversities, A's, and how you can dispute D, your IBs, to make your feelings healthy and unenraged again.